Hello and welcome. Now, if you're an aspirant trying to get your head around India's vision for 2047, there's one piece of the puzzle you absolutely cannot ignore: agriculture. It's the foundation. So today, we're going to dive deep into the official tech-led roadmap designed to totally transform it. This is big stuff, so let's get started.
You know, this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the huge shift we're talking about. We're moving away from a world that's all about hectares and yields and into one where data, intelligence, and even design are the new measures of success. This is really the core idea behind what's being called the intelligent revolution in Indian farming.
So, let's ask the big question. Why now? Why is this so incredibly important? Well, it all ties back to that national goal of Viksit Bharat 2047. See, for India to truly become a developed nation, our per capita national income has to jump like 5 times what it is now. And there's simply no way to do that without lifting up the incomes and the productivity of our farmers. Agriculture isn't just a part of the economy, it's the bedrock.
And if you want to understand the scale we're talking about, look at this number: 45.8%. That's almost half of India's entire workforce employed in agriculture. This isn't some niche sector we can ignore. No way. It's the engine of rural India, and it's where any real national development has to begin.
Okay, so before we can even talk about solutions, we have to do a reality check. We need to understand the people on the ground and the problems they're facing every single day. Because, Indian agriculture isn't just one thing. It's incredibly diverse. Farmers are up against wildly different challenges based on how much land they have and what resources they can access. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like.
Now this is super interesting, and for your analysis, it's a really crucial concept. Farmers have been segmented into 3 main archetypes. Why is this important? Because it shows that a one-size-fits-all policy is doomed to fail. You've got the aspiring farmer, the transitioning farmer, and the advanced farmer. Each one needs something completely different.
So let's start with Rajat. He represents the huge majority. We're talking 70 to 80% of our farmers. He's what we call an aspiring farmer. He's working a small plot, totally dependent on the rain, always struggling for capital, and he just can't get his hands on timely advice or machinery. For Rajat and literally millions like him, farming is a constant gamble, a high-risk, low-margin way of life.
Next up, let's meet Bindu. She's a transitioning farmer, representing about 15 to 20% of the population. She's got that entrepreneurial spirit, right? She has a bit more land, some irrigation, and she's really eager to try new technologies. But she's stuck in the middle. Her biggest hurdles? Getting a fair price for her produce and finding tech that's actually built for her medium-sized farm. She's got all this potential, but the market and the system are holding her back. And finally, we have Eamon, the advanced farmer. Now this is a tiny group, just 1 or 2%, running these big export-focused operations. He's already using cool stuff like sensor-based irrigation. So what could his problem be? Well, he's hit a ceiling. He's bumping up against the limits of the ecosystem itself. He's looking for cutting-edge innovations that just aren't available in India yet. And he's tangled up in regulatory hurdles. So you see, even the top guys are constrained. This chart, wow, this really exposes a fundamental problem that hits every single one of those farmers: productivity. Just look at wheat yields. India's at about 3.5 tons per hectare. Meanwhile, China is hitting 5.8, and Egypt, a staggering 7.0 tons per hectare. That gap, that's not just a number on a chart. It represents a massive untapped potential for growth. And a huge reason for that productivity gap comes down to this number. A mind-boggling 86% of Indian farmers are smallholders. Think about that. When land is that fragmented, it becomes almost impossible to get the economies of scale you need for things like modern machinery, efficient irrigation, all the stuff that boosts yields. Okay, so we've laid out the challenges, we've seen the ground reality. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the vision for the future. The whole proposed solution is built on this idea of a paradigm shift, one that's powered by something called frontier technologies. So what exactly are frontier technologies? This is a key term, so make a note of it. We're talking about really advanced stuff: artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, precision agriculture, drones, biotechnology, you name it. But here's the crucial part. These aren't just gadgets. They're seen as the actual engines that will drive productivity, make farming more sustainable, and create real economic equity across the board. But that begs the question, right? If this tech is so amazing, why isn't it everywhere already? Well, it's because of these 6 major roadblocks holding everything back. We have a problem with data being stuck in silos.
There's a serious trust deficit among farmers. There's a phygital divide, a gap between the digital tools and the physical reality on the farm. We're missing skilled talent. The whole ecosystem is fragmented, and there's just not enough capital flowing into Agritech.
Okay, this next part is super important, especially for those of you studying for exams. How do you remember all 6 of these roadblocks? Well, I've got a mnemonic for you, and it's pretty easy to remember. Just think, don't trust phones that fail constantly, right? Kind of fits the tech theme. So that's D for data, T for trust, P for physical, T for talent, F for fragmentation, and C for capital. One more time, don't trust phones that fail constantly. Got it? Good. So how do we start breaking down these roadblocks? The answer lies in a proposed strategic framework called the Digital Agriculture Mission 2.0. Think of this as the official game plan, and it's all built around a very clear 3-pillar structure.
The entire mission really rests on 3 simple but really powerful pillars. The first one is enhance. This is all about upgrading the foundational systems we already have, getting them ready for all this new tech. The second is reimagine. This is about completely rethinking how we approach innovation and how we develop talent. And the third pillar is converge. This one's all about getting the public and private sectors to finally work together to align their efforts. So it's enhance, reimagine, and converge.
And you know what? Here's another mnemonic to help you lock this in. To remember these 3 pillars, just think of the letters ERC. And you can remember it with this phrase: every revolution counts. It ties directly back to this whole idea of an intelligent revolution in agriculture. So, ERC, enhance, reimagine, converge.
All right, let's break down that first pillar, enhance. The goal here is pretty straightforward: strengthen the foundations. What does that mean in practice? Well, it means creating a single unified data system called agri-startups, so information can actually flow freely. It means using digital tools to empower the local advisors who are actually on the ground with farmers like Rajat. And it means seriously upgrading our startup accelerators to give new agri-tech companies a real shot at success.
Now for Pillar 2, Reimagine. This one is all about building for the future. It's pushing for a big shift in our research and development, moving away from siloed academic work to big, mission-oriented projects that solve real-world farming problems. And it's about building what they call a talent pyramid, creating skills at every single level, from top-tier researchers all the way down to digitally literate farmers who can actually use these new tools effectively.
And that brings us to our final pillar, converge. This is all about teamwork, plain and simple. How do you get everyone pulling in the same direction? Well, the plan suggests setting up national centers of excellence for specialized research. It also proposes creating regulatory sandboxes. These are basically safe spaces to test out new tech and policies without all the red tape. And most importantly, it's about building deep, structured partnerships between the government and the private sector.
Phew, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's take a moment and boil it all down into a quick revision guide. This is the stuff you'll definitely want to have locked in for your exams.
First up, let's recap the problems. You've got to remember the 3 farmer archetypes: aspiring, transitioning, and advanced. For the key numbers, lock these in. 45.8% of the workforce, 86% are smallholders, and that low wheat yield of 3.5 T/A. And of course, the 6 roadblocks, which you can remember with our mnemonic: don't trust phones that fail constantly. That's data, trust, phygital, talent, fragmentation, and capital.
And now the solution side. The official name of the framework is the Digital Agriculture Mission 2.0. It's built on those 3 pillars ERC, enhance, reimagine, and converge. And the T proposals you should absolutely remember are the 360-degree data ecosystem called Agritech, the shift to mission-oriented R&D, the national network of centers of excellence, and the use of regulatory sandboxes for more agile policymaking.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. The first green revolution was about one thing: feeding the nation. It was a massive success. But this next revolution, this intelligent revolution, it has an even bigger ambition. It's not just about feeding India anymore. It's about empowering every single farmer, from Rajat on his small plot to Aman with his large-scale operation, and building a truly prosperous and resilient agricultural future. The roadmap is on the table, but the journey, well, that's just getting started.